And we're live. Still here, still keeping it real or keeping it wild.
Eating tacos.
Eating tacos. All right, let's roll right.
Baseball starts in like January. Again, the new season is finally happening.
And we are back with another regular episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly one-stop shop podcast for news on movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us at the Media Boat Podcast. It is December the 10th, 2022. This is episode 361. Thank you for joining us. We have a little bit of a show today. We are going to recap the Video Game Awards. We're going to talk about the new SZA record. We're going to talk about Max.
Yes, HBO Max, Discovery Warner, possibly make just combining into the name Max. But we'll get there when we get there, because first,
yes,
we got to start with the music section.
We always start the music section. With
the Hot 100. We start with the Billboard. We start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And your hottest song in the land is, of course, Taylor Swift with Anti-Hero.
Yeah, still.
But right around the corner, it's a coming.
Yeah, it's
you
here.
Hear it.
It's here.
I mean, it's here, yes. But you can still hear those sleigh bells ringing, jingling, dingling. As Christmas songs start creeping into the top 5 with All I Want for Christmas Is You at number 2 by Mariah Carey.
Give it one more week.
One more week? It's going to be number 1?
I think. I don't think Taylor is that strong. Like, I could be wrong. Anti-Hero might stay, but I have a feeling this might be it.
Well, everyone's having their holiday parties because at number 3, it's Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee.
Yep.
At 4, Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras.
You know, the Christmas standard.
Yes. And then, rounding out your top 5, Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms.
So, yeah, get ready for a lot of this.
Yes.
This is where it begins.
Yep, as we slide into the end of the year, your Christmas songs start taking hold.
Yep.
But they only take hold of the top 100.
Or do they?
Because, as check out our album chart, your Billboard 200. At number 1, it's still Midnights by Taylor Swift.
Mm-hmm.
With number 2, Her Loss by Drake and 21 Savage. At 3, Un Verano Sin Ti by Bad Bunny. But then coming in at number 4, Christmas.
Yeah. The entire concept of Christmas. No.
Yes, the concept album of Christmas.
Yes.
By various Michael Bublé's.
Just one Michael Bublé. Yes, Michael Bublé's Christmas is here.
Yes. And running at your top 5, It's Only Me by Lil Baby.
This has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but damn, you ate that bagel fast.
Yes.
I looked down and I was like, where'd it go? It's just the wrapper.
It's a half a bagel.
I gave him a bagel before the show, and I was just like, half a bagel, and I was just like, yeah, you can eat it while you're recording. Somehow it was gone by the time he hit record.
Well, we were talking.
I was talking. I guess I was not paying attention.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry. Moving on.
We were talking about music news.
We are talking about music.
Well, we were talking about new releases. And unfortunately, there's
still no new releases. Though there was a surprise release. So you had mentioned on the podcast and out of the podcast that there was going to be some sort of surprise release.
Oh, yes. And I picked up that phone because I called it.
You did, because on SNL, which was musical guest SZA last week, SZA decided to use that opportunity to announce her second record. It has been 5 years since Control, her debut, so it was long awaited. I have listened to it, and I will talk about it a little later. But first,
we got to get to some music news.
Yes.
And we start with an indie rock institution.
A couple of them.
Yes.
But it's the same dude?
Well, it's both Postal Service and Death Cab for Cutie.
Yeah.
Both of whom were fronted and co-founded by singer-songwriter Ben Gibbard.
Yeah.
Will undertake a 20th anniversary co-headlining North American tour next year.
Yeah.
The groups will perform their landmark 2003 albums in full. The Postal Service's Platinum Certified Give Up and Death Cab for Cutie's breakthrough 4th studio record, Transatlanticism.
You got 90% of the way there.
That's it, right?
Transatlanticism.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
Okay.
Which were actually released within a mere 8 months of one another.
What a time to be Ben Gibbard.
Yes. So Ben Gibbard will, in fact, pull double duty throughout the tour, performing with both Postal Service, which also includes Jimmy Tamborello and Jenny Lewis,
Yeah, Jenny Lewis.
as well as Death Cab for Cutie.
So, millennials, get excited because millennials love
But it's
Postal
not,
Service and
yes,
Death Cab.
but it's not the Hella Megadeth tour.
No, it is not, but this is better. So yeah, Christy's already excited for this. She's like, yeah, we're getting tickets for the Hollywood Bowl show, which is in October. So yeah, almost a whole year away, but still, yeah, this is exciting for millennials who love this era, especially the Postal Service. Like, I feel like a lot of people our age have a soft spot for
Especially
the
Death
Postal
Cab,
Service
yes.
and Death Cab. So yeah, this is OC core, like the OC, this television show.
You know, yeah. Well, you know, when they were in their heyday, they were at such great heights.
There it is. All right, let's move on to a sadder story, or like a yeah, not sad, but definitely like, oh boy, this seems rough.
Death Cab for Cutie.
No.
Oh, sorry. Celine Dion.
Yeah, Celine Dion.
Yes, Celine Dion has revealed that she has been diagnosed with a rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome.
Yeah, what a name.
Yes, she
Very
said
evocative.
she said the disorder affects approximately 1 in 1 million people.
Damn.
In a video message posted to Instagram, Dion said the disorder was causing spasms that affect her ability to walk and sing. Quote, while we're still learning about this rare condition, we now know that this is what's been causing all of the spasms that I've been having. Unfortunately, the spasms affect every aspect of my daily life, sometimes causing difficulties when I walk and not allowing me to use my vocal cords to sing the way I'm used to. End quote. Because of the impact on her ability to perform, Dion explained that she had no option but to again postpone her upcoming Courage tour, which was set to begin in February, after already being postponed by not 3 months, 3 different times already. Quote, I miss you so much. I miss seeing all of you being on stage performing for you. I always give 100% when I do my shows, but my condition is not allowing me to give you that right now, as she said in her post.
Yeah, this is a rough one. Yet another example over the last couple of years of an artist finding out that they have some sort of rare condition that's going to affect their touring. This just keeps happening. And kind of a legacy of female artists too, who've had this happen to them. Shania Twain, like it comes to mind. Like it's just disappointing because yeah, like I'm sure there's so many people who were really looking forward to seeing Celine. And yeah, it's going to be sad that she's not going to be able to do the tour the way she wants to because of this.
Right, and so seeing Celine in their home stadium outside of the Vegas residency that she did have for such a long time.
Yeah, so yeah, of course, we wish the best of luck to her as they kind of figure out this rare disease and try to figure out how to help her get to performing shape again, if she can, is kind of the question here. Yeah, definitely a disappointing one, but we wish her the best.
Yep. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
There's not much else that we can do. But yeah, she gets the best treatment she can.
So let me become a doctor real quick and see what I can do.
All right, let me turn around my chair here. Just zip right into my doctor costume.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
Anyways, so now you can talk about SZA.
Yeah, this won't take very long. I listened to SOS, which is the surprise SZA record that was announced last Saturday. Came out yesterday. It is long. That's the first thing I want to say about this thing. If you were waiting with bated breath for more SZA music, well, you got a lot of it yesterday. 24 tracks and a lot of guests here, a lot of left turns, a lot of unexpected sounds. But still, if you liked Control, SZA's first record, you're going to love this thing. So for the most part, she's an R&B artist, and she mostly operates in that lane. But her voice is just so... It's pretty perfect. As perfect as a voice for that genre can be. SZA's voice is just like so pristine, so clean, just works through the melodies just like beautifully. Like She has one of the best voices in the business, in my opinion. And so, yeah, you get a lot of her like in top form in this. But like I said, you also get a lot of left turns. Because of this being so long and having so many tracks in it, she gets to experiment a little bit, and you get a little bit of experimentation here. You get a song that has a lot of like synths in it, and then all of a sudden Phoebe Bridgers shows up and does a verse, which is a weird like I definitely had one of those mono genre moments where I was listening to this. Is like, wait, okay, all right, we're just throwing the idea of siloed parts of the music industry out the window for this. And it sounds great, and they work well together. And when they're harmonizing, it's like really great. And I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And then like she follows that with like there's a song with like an Old Dirty Bastard sample, like Old Dirty Bastard from the Wu-Tang Clan. That's how she chooses to end this thing. There's a song with some country strings. Like this is all over. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the part where it's basically she wrote a pop punk song. Like there's so much happening in this record, and there's so many different vibes, but it all comes together with that trademark voice. And her songwriting is also great here. Honestly, and I've seen a lot of people talking about this, it sucks that this came out after all of the year-end lists, because I feel a lot of critics are like, wait a minute, oh no, this thing's really good, what do I do? I don't know if it would have ended up on my top 10, but I'm sure that it
would have been in consideration.
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
It's really good.
Which we did just this past week.
You said this, I know.
Put out our top, our end of the year for music.
But yeah, podcast. I would recommend this to anybody who has liked SZA in the past, or likes her singles that she's put out in anticipation of this, or just wants to hear some really great R&B record. It's kind of like I've always imagined like the music that SZA makes, the music that Drake should be making. Is it like if he had just kept on the track that he was after Take Care in 2011, but he didn't, and he swerved, and he keeps swerving. I feel like SZA is making that kind of quality, and she's consistent enough to keep making it. The one thing I will say though, and this is maybe just a personal thing, it's just too long.
24 tracks is too long.
I feel like there's just a handful of these songs that I'm like, do we need 2 of these? Like, do we need 3 of these kind of vibe? And like, There's a version of this record that's shorter, that's more concise, and I think is probably better. But again, to a lot of people, more is more. So I'm sure that if you're a fan, you're going to love the fact that she has given you such a generous package of songs. And this is even apparently down from hundreds of songs she said she recorded in these sessions. So she pulled a Carly Rae Jepsen here, is what I'm saying, where she just recorded so much she had to pare that down. So maybe we get a collection of more down the line. It's possible.
A side 2?
Yeah, a side B. So yeah, we'll see. But for what it is, this is a really good package, and it just proves that SZA is top of her game, top of the genre, and just doing things that a lot of her fellow members of the genre can't do. So hey, check it out. SOS SZA, it's good.
Yep.
Carve out an hour and change.
Or you can carve out an hour and change and listen to us.
That too. Yeah. You can decide which one's better.
Well, no, not just like us on a regular podcast, but on our end of the year music special.
Speaking of which, if you're listening to this on our podcast feed, you can find it on our podcast feed. We'll do one a week. So by the time you're listening to this, we've already dropped the episode about music.
Yes.
So yes, check that out. All right, let's move on to our next section here.
And we'll go right into video games.
Yes, video games. What a week in video games.
Yes. Starting with new releases.
Yes, there are a couple.
Yep. We have Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Yes, that is that remake of Crisis Core, originally a PSP game.
Yes, notice how they do the
everything.
Yes, they re-up everything. And that's out for literally everything.
Yeah, literally
Switch
everything.
included.
Yeah, you can play this on anything. I believe the Switch is a cloud version.
Yes. We also have High on Life for Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC.
This is that Justin Roiland first-person shooter. Didn't preview well initially, but recent previews seem to have better things to say about it. It seems like there's a lot of celebrity voices involved.
This was on my watch list.
Yeah.
So I might check this
Well,
out
this is on Game Pass.
if my computer can run it.
Yes, this is on Game Pass, so I will probably take a look at this. I'm not sure how much I'm gonna like it. I'm not necessarily a Justin Roiland fan.
Yes.
Rick and Morty is hit or miss for me. So
if you want your guns talking to you the entire time,
yeah, do I want that? I don't know. When somebody said that JB Smoove is the voice of one of the guns in this thing, I was like, all right, I might have to check this out. Yeah, there's some like Maria Bamford is in this. I was like, what? So I might check it out just out of curiosity for some of the celebrity stuff happening here. And it's an interesting concept. Like, I don't know. We'll see.
If you didn't check it out on Switch or PC,
yeah,
Neon White is now available on PS4 and PS5.
Yeah, so PlayStation users can check out one of our favorite games of the year.
Yes. And lastly, The Witcher 3, Wild Hunt - Complete Edition.
Yes.
Is now getting yet another
this is
next-gen upgrade.
Next-gen upgrade. This is PS5, Xbox Series X. This is they ran a trailer during the early video game awards.
I feel like they did this for when the PS4
Series One
Series One.
Yes, Xbox One.
Xbox One came out.
It's not weird to say that, right? It feels like ancient history, the Xbox One.
Yeah.
That was the name of that thing, though. It's weird to say. Anyway,
we lived through it.
But yeah, that is a 4K, like fully upgraded, complete with DLC package. But as you're scrolling through it right now, the big news this week was, of course, the Video Game Awards, Jeff Keighley's own. This is just winners. We probably want to recap with the announcements.
Yeah, we're going to recap the announcements first.
Yeah.
Or after, but we'll get through the winners first.
Yeah, so the thing, if you don't know how the Video Game Awards work, is that they're mostly a thing for Jeff Keighley to invite his friends to announce things. Yes. However, there are awards given out, and depending on who you are, they matter.
Yes, they do.
Also, depending on who you are, they don't matter. But yeah, let's just go through the bigger.
On who wins, they matter more or less.
But yeah, overall, it was a weird night. The vibe was off to me. I feel like also they did the biggest problem I have with it. You never start the show with a showstopper, and they started the show with a showstopper this year, and I didn't care about anything else for the rest of the show.
Oh, you're talking about Hades 2.
Obviously, I'm talking about Hades 2, the sequel to the Media Vote Game of the Year 2019.
Yeah,
that's 2019. Feels like so long
2019
ago.
or 2020.
No, it had to be 2019 because I remember. Wait, no, I had my computer.
Yeah,
2020.
2020.
Anyway, but yeah, like that for me, that was such a.
You might be confused because it was out on like beta
pre-release, early access for
a while.
So yeah, that just tempered that just raised my bar so high that nothing could ever hop. Like I am more. I feel like I was more excited with that trailer than I was about anything I'd ever seen at a Video Game Awards ever. Like that, like sent me to like I'm rarely this excited for a game, but the idea, because one, I wasn't expecting it.
No one was.
Supergiant doesn't make sequels to their games ever. And two, when I saw their logo and I guess we're just talking about Hades 2 right now. Let's just burn this real quick.
Yes.
Because it's the most exciting thing that happened all night. But yeah, when the trailer started, I was like, okay, this Supergiant Games logo. All right, let's see what the next thing they're doing. And then even with the fight in the beginning, because I didn't recognize the characters, I was like, oh, is this a new game? Is this like a fighting game? Like, what are they doing? But then the thing that tipped me off was the laurel that the character is wearing. I was like, that looks like...
That looks... Yep.
And then when they did the zoom in on her eyes, oh my God.
Yeah, because it looked like Hades.
Her eyes were the same color. And I was like, oh... okay, this is Hades too. And then as it went on and they showed like Apollo and stuff like that, I was like, all right, okay, this is Hades too. And I was like, oh my God.
Yep. Not the only shocking announcement, also not the only sequel, as Death Stranding 2, working title, may not be official, was announced.
So there was a portion of the show that I did not have the sound on for. And unfortunately, this was part of it. I missed the entire Death Stranding 2 trailer. I missed what Kojima said, and I missed all that. I missed that entire portion of the show, so I'm gonna have to probably rewatch a lot of this stuff. But hey, people who like Death Stranding will love the fact that there's more Death Stranding. I'm not one of those people, but I'm sure people are excited.
Also, sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars Jedi: Survivor
Yeah,
was got an official reveal trailer as well.
this footage looked good.
It did.
I played a little bit of Fallen Order, and it's not for me. It's a Souls-like, and I wasn't really digging it. But what they showed seemed like, oh yeah, Star Wars fans like should get really excited for that. That looks really good.
Yep. Also announced was Blue Protocol for Amazon.
You mean Namco's Genshin Impact? This is just every moment of this. I was like, this is just Genshin Impact.
This looks like Genshin Impact.
But they say it's in an MMO though.
Yes.
Which makes me think that they're going to try to make some like take the concept of a Genshin Impact and make it massive. Which I'm like, we'll see.
Yep. We also saw the trailer for Horizon 2 Forbidden West DLC, Burning Shores.
Yes.
Which will be a PS5 exclusive.
This looks rad. Like seeing Aloy like past the Capitol Records building and the Hollywood sign. Yes. I mean, of course, we're SoCal residents here, so of course it's going to touch us more than most people. But I'm very excited.
Yes, some people may roll their eyes like, "Oh my God, Aloy goes to Hollywood."
but we're over here being like, Aloy goes to Hollywood.
Yep.
So sign me up. I'm ready for more Horizon.
There was some more footage of Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah. But also looks better than it should. It looks like they're going hard on the story here, which is important because I feel like a lot of people.
They did that with 15.
Yeah.
They were hard with the story with 15 as well.
And
trying to do combat out.
And the fact that the team behind 14, the MMO, which is more popular than ever, is behind this is really, it means that it's got a high level of hype that 15 didn't. Mm-hmm. So yeah, 16 looks good. And we have a release date too. That comes out along with everything else at the show, apparently, in June.
Yes.
June, huge month next year. Get ready for summer video games. You're already like, my wallet.
No, I was thinking summer games done quick.
These will not be done quick, though. No. Get ready for 80 to 100 hours of Final Fantasy 16 for you. I know that's how much time you're going to spend with
Probably. But that wasn't the last thing announced.
Not even close. There's so much.
Yes. I don't know. Are you excited for this last thing here?
This is probably also something that's not for me. However, a certain quadrant of the internet broke their brains.
Yes. Because From Software, creators behind Elden Ring, did not go quietly into the night. Instead, they announced Armored Core 6 is on its way. The Fires of Rubicon.
So, if you aren't a gamer who's been in this business as long as I have, you might know what Armored Core is. Before the Souls games, From Software was known as a pretty niche Japanese developer, and one of their franchises was Armored Core. It is a mech franchise, big robot battles with RPG elements, where you're like basically like changing your robot's parts constantly, you're like upgrading, you're leveling up, that kind of vibe. Well, this is a new one. Seems like the idea is that From is going to put a little bit of that Souls business, like magic, into this. So it's going to be kind of a hybrid, like Souls with mechs, but with like a little bit more like tinkering happening. And yeah, Armored Core. A lot of people are very excited for this. I don't think this is my bag, but hey, I'm excited for the people.
They say it's supposed to be coming out next year. Yeah. Probably looking at a holiday release.
I would assume. Even though Elden Ring did really well as a beginning of the year kind of thing. So maybe.
Yeah. Couple other announcements included Cyberpunk 2077. For those of you still playing it, there's a new expansion called Phantom Liberty.
Yeah.
And they got Idris Elba.
So we knew that this was happening. They had announced Phantom Liberty would be their first big DLC. What we didn't know was the Idris Elba stuff and to see footage of it. So yeah, Idris Elba looking good in video game form. Christy was at home at that point and she was like, man, look at that hot man. And I was like, calm down. It's just Idris Elba.
Yep. And then a sequel to a 2010 game, I want to say. 2009?
It was around that time.
Time. Diablo 4.
Yeah.
Long-awaited sequel coming out in June of next year.
Yeah.
Or at least currently scheduled for June of next year.
And Halsey showed up.
Yeah, that was weird.
I was like, all right, let's bring it. But again, I had it muted because I was on the phone. So I just saw her. I didn't hear her perform. So, but yeah, like I was excited to see Halsey there. And yeah, that footage, they just showed basically cutscene, but Blizzard cutscenes always look great, and this one wasn't a disappointer. So yeah, like excited for Diablo 4. I have not played a Diablo game, but they seem like something I would like. So
I don't know, because like when the PS3 came out, yes, the PS3.
Yes.
It was a big hype that Diablo 3 was
3,
coming
yeah.
to the PS3 as like one of its launch games.
Yeah. No, I never played it.
Neither did I.
But yeah, I heard good things about it.
Street Fighter 6 got a release date in June.
Yep.
Among Us getting a new.
We should talk about Judas.
What, this one?
Yeah. So Judas, which was a trailer they showed, is the next Ken Levine game. This is notable because, of course, he was the creative lead on the BioShock games, as well as before that, System Shock for EA. But mostly at this point, he's known as the BioShock guy, the guy who brought you BioShock and BioShock Infinite. This just looks like BioShock, but like almost to the point where I was like, can he do this? Because he doesn't own the rights to that game anymore.
Right.
That is a 2K franchise and IP now. They more or less kind of let it sit. They haven't done anything with BioShock since, except for this movie that they've got in the works. But yeah, Judas is an interesting looking game. It looks like kind of a BioShock style experience, but in space. A lot of like free floating things. And they said that a lot of the trailer was in engine, at least if we're to believe Jeff Keighley. He says he's played it a few hours of it, and he says that that's running. We don't know much else about it, but like, I'm intrigued at least. I feel like Ken Levine made some mistakes, I think, after BioShock. I think you can say what you will about BioShock Infinite. I liked it, but a lot of people were correct to point out the many, many, many problems and baggage with its story. That being said, as long as he doesn't trip up on that end of on the narrative end of the spectrum, I think Judas could be interesting. I think it could be fun. I think the BioShock setup of gun and power is an interesting concept that still could work in a modern video game. I want to see what he does with it.
Okay.
So yeah, could be interesting.
We also announced Returnal coming to PC.
We knew about
that.
Yeah.
Dead Cells is getting crossover with Castlevania.
Yeah, that's its first DLC in a long time. Dead Cells is like a 2019 game.
Yep. There's going to be a Hellboy game called Web of Weird.
Yeah, looked good, like a cel-shaded kind of comic book look on that.
And then lastly, in a bittersweet surprise,
this was sad.
The upcoming Suicide Squad game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, will, for better or for worse, with a name of a title like that, have the late Kevin Conroy voice Batman in one of his last appearances. Yeah,
they said it will for a final time in their universe, in the Rocksteady games, because, of course, he passed before the game's release. So that part of the trailer, that was sad. That was a nice little tribute to him at the end there. But real quick, that game doesn't look very good, right? Like that cutscene, like it was a cutscene, but it was an in-engine cutscene.
Yeah.
Ooh, that thing needs some polish.
A little rough around the edges.
Yeah, I feel like that game looked rough. Or also, like the bits that were supposed to be funny did not hit at all for me. And I was like, this is okay. These jokes are not great. I don't know. I don't know about that game, is what I'm saying.
Well, jokes can go stale after a while.
And also, I feel like the problem with the DC stuff, which I know is on top of James Gunn's list of things to fix, is that when everything's siloed in their own universes, it's confusing to me. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, so this is not they didn't get the actors from the Justice League movie or from any of the other things.
Yes.
This is a different not Justice League. I meant Suicide Squad.
Yes.
It's a different Suicide Squad. I'm so confused. There are like 3 different Suicide Squads and 3 different things now, and I'm just so confused. So anyway, it's fine. It's not for me.
No matter how much you want to kill the Justice League.
I don't really, but hey, if I can be convinced. Anyway.
Zaslav will convince you that he too will want to kill the Justice League.
Yeah, I bet he does. There's probably a handful of other things we didn't mention here. They showed a clip of the Mario Brothers movie.
Yes.
That I don't know. It seemed more like scene setting than anything. It was basically just Mario doing platforming. Which was weird.
Yes.
The one thing I do have to say that the big takeaway for me from that trailer from that clip was they nailed the score. I was like, oh, that's the theme from this level. That's the theme from this game. That's the thing. I was like, my mind was reeling. I was like, how did they put all these themes in the same medley? And Christy's like, oh, I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm like, no, that's the bomb battlefield theme. That's the underground theme when he goes into the pipe. I was pointing out everything. But anyway, I still don't know who that movie is for because
Score.
I feel like it's just all over the map.
It's weird because that movie, from like the clips I showed, is part for kids in
But-
design,
But also, all the
but there's
nerds are going to be
also
like,
so much little details that you can point to and get like
it's going
this
to be
reaction.
that Leo meme where he's pointing
Just
at the
pointing
TV.
everything. Anyways, aside from announcements, there was actual winners at the awards.
Yeah, I guess if you care about the
As I
awards.
was saying.
Yeah, sorry. No, everybody knows the video game awards are for the announcements and not for the awards.
Yes. I'm sorry. When you have video game awards, you gotta announce stuff. So biggest winner, it's depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
Because some games took home more awards, some games took home the big awards.
You're just happy that God of War Ragnarok had a good night.
Oh yes, it did have a good night.
Yes, which of course everybody predicted it would.
But it did not have the best night.
No, because that went to Elden Ring, which
Yes.
was your game of the year.
From Software with Elden Ring won both Game of the Year and Best Game Direction.
We'll talk.
Although, can it win Best Game Direction if it gives you no direction at all?
So I think obviously here I feel like Immortality was absolutely brutally robbed. It wasn't even nominated for the Game of the Year, but I'm talking about in direction because the fact that I can't even figure out how you make a game like Immortality, I think that you win that automatically. Like there's no way that this game does not win Best Game Direction. How do you direct a game like that?
Wrong with that, but you're directing people through
literally directing a movie.
Literally.
3 movies.
3 movies plus backstories.
Plus backstory. Plus a video game.
Plus video game. Plus side stories.
It just breaks my brain to even think about it. Immortality was, by the way, swept. Like completely nothing.
Yes.
All night. Even for Performance for Men Engage, which she should have won. Sorry, Christopher Judge.
Yes.
But you weren't acting like with your you weren't actually in the game.
He was. They both capped him.
He was the voice of it.
No, he
both
capped him.
I know, but still. I'm just saying that it's a different thing to me.
Yes,
but
Elden Ring also ended up winning Best Art Direction and Best RPG.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, God of War, that theme was everywhere tonight or last night, whatever it was.
Yeah.
As it did win Best Narrative, it won Best Score in Music for Bear McCreary, Best Audio Design.
I finally now know what Bear McCreary looks like.
Yeah.
He looks like He looks like a dude that's name is Bear McCreary.
Yes.
Also, he said some sort of weird thing about what was it, ethnic fiddles or something like that.
Yeah, something
like
that.
What the hell is he talking about? I hope that's the name of the instrument because otherwise I'm like,
as well as Best Performance, like you mentioned, by Christopher Judge.
Yeah. Who gave a 15-minute long speech.
Yes, they tried to play him off, and then he kept going.
Oh my god!
God of War Ragnarok also won for Best Action Adventure. I think that was it. Oh no, and Innovation in Accessibility.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they won the Accessibility Award because I feel like Sony's gone so hard on that.
Yes,
that it was good to see,
especially with The Last of Us Part 2 winning it last year.
Yeah. No, good for them. I'm glad they're getting recognition for that stuff.
Yep. Other big game winners were As Dusk Falls for Games for Impact.
Don't know if I agree with that one.
I don't know. Marvel Snap.
Yep.
For Best Mobile Game.
That cool animation thing that they did was rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even Christy was like, even Christy was like, "What is this? This looks cool." Like, yeah, this does look cool.
Yeah, it completely blows it out of proportion of what you're actually doing.
No, it's nothing like a game, but.
Best indie game went to Stray and the Kitty Cat.
Yeah, this should have been Neon White, but sure.
Yes, I know it should have been Neon White. And the Kitty Cat won. Moss Book 2 for Best VR AR game.
Sure.
And then
they ended a 3 for Best Action Game, which was surprising to me.
And Multiverse is also surprising for Best Fighting Game.
I want to say that was probably because what happens in a lot of these is that the panels are from all sorts of different games media. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens a lot is the winners is often the most accessible thing. And what I mean by that is the one that everybody's played.
Right.
Multiverses is free to play, which I'm sure helps it because fighting, especially with the games nominated in the fighting category, is pretty niche.
Yeah.
And so the fact that most people who were voting probably played Multiverses as opposed to all of the rest of these games makes sense.
And then Best Family Game
Kirby.
Went to Kirby in
Good
the
to see
Forgotten
Kirby
Land.
here. This was like the Nintendo Switch category.
Yes,
Yeah,
aside from Lego being in there.
well, I think it's also on Switch. So.
It is on Switch, yes.
But yeah, so good to see Kirby though win this.
Yeah, but I'm
Deservedly
just
so.
saying that Nintendo is on like slash Nintendo on everything.
Yeah,
except for
everything
Lego.
but Lego.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, your most anticipated game was in literally no competition at all.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
I don't like the fact that they do a most anticipated category because it's basically like best marketing.
Yeah.
It sucks, but whatever.
I mean, it's also like, hey, this game is probably going to end up winning Game of the Year next year when it comes out.
Probably.
Because Elden Ring did it last year. Yeah, other than that...
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you have the esports categories, which we don't really care about.
Yeah. One thing that's not on here is that the fan-voted category went to Genshin Impact.
Yeah, so Sonic fans are probably super pissed about that one.
Not just that, but because the people behind Genshin Impact basically put in their notices, if you vote for us, we'll give you the like extra gems, like if we win.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
So now we need to talk about something that happened at the very, very end of the show.
Yes, Jeff Keighley said goodbye.
This is video game news, I guess, in a way.
It happened during the VGAs.
Yeah, it happened during the VGAs, but also it's just one of those award show moments that doesn't really happen anywhere else. So when Elden Ring won Game of the Year, the From Software squad kind of came up. But there was a member of that squad that didn't belong there. So from what I've been able to gather from people who have pieced together how this happened, a 15-year-old who was attending the ceremony got up out of his seat in this moment and followed them up to the stage, to the point where at one point he was even leading them to the stage. He stood there patiently then as the thank yous happened. No one noticed that he was there and not part of the From Software crew. Security didn't do anything. The From Software people did not bring attention to this kid. Then after the music had started, this kid walks up to the microphone, awkwardly thanks everyone, and then thanks, quote, his Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton. And then, which, by the way, they stopped the music and turned the microphone back on for this kid, not knowing that he wasn't part of anything.
Yes.
And immediately shut it down as soon as he said Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Jeff Keighley then awkwardly has to pivot and close out the show.
Yep.
So after the show, what basically the internet was able to sleuth about this? This is apparently a 15-year-old troll, essentially. He's made kind of a career of himself over the last couple of years of worming himself onto things and saying weird shit. The question about him is that, is he doing a bit here? Is this some sort of weird anti-Semitic thing that he's doing? No one's quite clear. Mm-hmm. Apparently somebody found an interview that he had somehow, or not an interview, I guess he called in or something to none other than Alex Jones's InfoWars at one point. So this is a bit that he's apparently done for a while.
Okay.
According to this is where this gets weird. According to Jeff Keighley's Twitter account, he said that this kid was arrested. That is a claim he made. Video game reporter Stephen Totillo, however, on Twitter said that he called the LAPD and asked if they had a record of an arrest happening on the VGA state or at the VGAs, and they said no. So it's unclear whether or not this kid was apprehended or not. Apparently, he's home now because another video game reporter on Twitter tweeted, Jason Schreier, who works at Bloomberg. He said that he actually got him on a Zoom call and interviewed the kid. And apparently he said like he was trying to test basically whether or not he was like saying that to be anti-Semitic or if he was genuinely Jewish. And so apparently he said something in Hebrew and said that the kid actually understood him, but then denied that he understood him. So again, it seems like it's a bit. Seems like this kid's just a troll. Whether or not we should really give this guy a platform, who knows?
We just did.
Yeah, I'm not really unclear. Basically, even a couple days later, it's unclear exactly what the motivation was, whether he was just making a joke. However, the big problem here is security should have noticed.
Yes.
And the fact that they didn't is actually really dangerous, because what if this kid did have nefarious goals in mind? What if he had brought a weapon on the stage? What if he said something worse into the microphone? Like, there are so many possibilities that this could have been way worse. We got the best possible scenario out of this, and the internet had their yucks for a couple hours. But it's definitely worrying, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see security jump up next year at this stage, because this should not have been happened.
Or if they put if we win, here's the people who are coming on stage.
Right. We are only expecting these people. If you see anybody else, please ask them to leave.
Expect something similar probably going forward with the upcoming award season.
Yeah,
for
E3 is going to... Yeah.
E3. No, that's
just awards in general?
Awards in general. Oscars, Emmys, Golden Globes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I feel like they maybe, because nothing like this has happened at a thing like this before, maybe they just weren't prepared.
Get away with it once.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was weird. It was the weirdest moment in a weird night, I think.
By far. A weird night.
Yeah. Also, everybody loves that flute guy in the orchestra.
Yes.
Apparently, he's a very prolific session musician in the LA area, and he's known by, if you know music, in the area, if you record music in the area, you know who that guy is. Mm-hmm. And so, but made people happy, which is always good.
Okay.
That's, I feel like that's the Game Awards.
That was a lot of the Game Awards.
A lot of the Game Awards, but there was a lot to talk about.
Yes.
That wasn't the biggest news. Somehow, that was not the biggest news. And I have a perfect segue to this. My personal favorite night, or favorite moment from the VGAs, was in the beginning monologue. Jeff Keighley calls out Phil Spencer, who was, one, clearly not prepared for the camera to be on him.
Yes.
And two, not in a good mood. They showed him, and he was literally, I feel like he was, I don't know what he was mouthing, but he definitely looked like, get the camera off of me. Stop showing. I'm not presenting tonight. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing anything tonight. I'm here because I have to be, was the vibe. And even the woman next to him was kind of like, come on, Phil, give him a smile or something. And he's just he literally went well, the reason for this is because hours prior,
he got news on his phone that the FTC, the news we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks here, will in fact be suing to block Microsoft's proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard.
Yes. So the thing we talked about last week, well, it happened.
Yes. An official statement made by the FTC alleges that the deal will not only give Microsoft an upper hand in the console market, but also in other areas such as subscription gaming and cloud gaming. It claims that the $69 billion deal, Microsoft's largest ever, and the largest ever in video game history.
That should be reverse.
Yes. Would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox gaming consoles and its rapidly growing subscription content and cloud-based gaming business.
Yeah.
According to the FTC, the complaint cites previous examples of Microsoft acquiring other valuable gaming content and using it to suppress competition from rivals, pointing to the acquisition of a couple years ago, ZeniMax, parent company of Bethesda, as the notable example.
So that last part is the kicker. So all the people speculating, including us, about whether or not the FTC would okay this, did not think about precedent. They thought about precedent. And this is one of the reasons, probably the biggest reason why they pressed the red button here. If you look at, I of course did not read the entire statement. I'm not a CPA. Mm-hmm. I can't discern that for you, too much legalese. But what I will say from the people who did dive into it is that this is their biggest point. They mentioned that
they already did a big deal.
Well, they not only that they did this big deal before, but also that what they chose to do after that deal finalized, which was, they did make games exclusive to the Xbox Pro. They said, Redfall, Xbox exclusive. Elder Scrolls, whatever, next one, probably Xbox exclusive. Starfield, Xbox exclusive. They already did that. So the FCC is well, if they did it here, what's stopping them from doing that with Activision, even if they said it? said that they wouldn't. A couple of notable bits and pieces here. This week also, Microsoft made a big statement this week saying that they made a 10-year agreement with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to their platforms. This seems like they thought that Microsoft seemed like they were convinced that this would be concessions. FTC doesn't see it like that. In their paperwork that they put out after this, they said they do not even count Nintendo as a competitor to Microsoft, which is really a burn to Nintendo. They said that what they're saying is that they only view high power, or whatever the term was, or high efficiency, or high, like whatever term they used, video game consoles as their competition. And so then that rules out the Nintendo Switch. So that means that what Microsoft saw as a concession is not a concession at all to the FTC. Mm-hmm. They don't think it's enough. Meanwhile, Sony was like, hey, we're like, this week was like, hey, we're not even going to talk to Microsoft about this. We're going to talk to regulators because we're trying to convince the regulators that this is not good for us. And it worked. It's clearly one of the things that convinced the FTC here. Microsoft, after this was announced, did say that they are still confident and will go to court and are ready. They feel like they are prepared to go to court for this. Legally, honestly, I think this is a coin flip. That's kind of where I'm at right now. The Biden administration has talked a big game about being more anti-monopoly, antitrust, and trying to take down these kinds of things from happening. We just saw it happen in the publishing world with the attempted takeover of Penguin. That didn't happen. It got shot down, which means that recently they have a very recent history of shooting down these acquisitions. You now have a lot of politicians throwing their hat on one side or another. Bernie Sanders tweeted this week that he does support the FTC here and does believe that this is right to shoot this merger down. So there's a lot of conversation here. Yes. about what's going to happen in this. Yeah, it could go either way. I honestly don't know if they succeed here.
Okay. I mean, we'll find out. It's going to be a long legal process.
Yes.
But other than that, there's one last surprise to the VGAs, and that is that Forspoken was released as a demo. Immediately after the VGA announcements. And I was able to play it.
Yeah, so I almost played this. And I say almost, which was like, I almost...
You downloaded it?
No, I almost powered up the PS5. I was like, should I check this out? I don't know how I feel about it. And then...
Well, that's a good thing about having the PS app is that it's like, I'll
just bloop, 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 do it.
Yep, download for the PS app. Because it was also during Thursday Night Football. So while I was watching Thursday Night Football, I was like, let's download this in the background. Because Rams are playing, which we'll get to in TV here.
Yeah.
It is a fast-paced, parkour game combined with both physical attacks and magical attacks in a seamless transition. I don't know if it's fun. But it is very big. It's very wide. It's very expansive. And I think once you get to the actual level that you start at, which is 17 in this demo, that you're able to run around and sprint on everything. It's just move fast. A lot of it is about the ability to move from place to place, climbing up everything, scaling everything. I don't know if there's any limits to this game.
Does it feel good to do those things?
It feels good to climb stuff and be I'm just gonna at points spam trying to jump up this huge wall instead of running all the way around or trying to find the stairs or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of looks like a lot of time and effort went into the maneuverability to grapple, not just grapple enemies and go towards them. A lot of it is moving from place to place, running, sprinting, parkouring over items, parkouring through items, leveling up your different both magic and combat-based abilities.
Okay.
As well as crafting elements.
How much of a demo is this? It feels like this was a lot of content.
It feels like a lot of content. There's 6 quote main missions that it has to do in order. It's basically all lined up on the map. But the map itself is this real. It feels like a really big area. with a lot of like little additional stuff. Like here's like all like little treasure chests you can go around and find. Here's like a little couple little like mystery and hidden lore spots you can go look at.
So how's the vibe of this game? Because I remember one of the things that a lot of people were saying after the previews went out was that the hero was a little talkative, and there was kind of like a weird oh, that thing happened kind of dialogue happening. Is there a lot of that here?
Yeah, it does have that kind of feel.
Talk as much as Aloy?
At times, yes. Also, there was a non-existent voice. It felt like I don't know, just me playing it, that like either your sword or shield was talking to you the whole time. So like magically enchanted in this magical enchantment kingdom or realm or wherever we are. And like the teenage heroine is there to save the day.
It's an isekai, as they say.
Yes. So from what I played, I liked it, but at the same time, it was like this game could easily go one of two ways of exactly what I want, or very much like Horizon Forbidden West, where there's too much to do in that game.
I saw a lot of people saying that they were disappointed by this demo, is the reason why I was asking you a lot of questions. It seems like some people I saw was like, oh yeah, I played for 5 minutes and deleted it.
There is a lot of empty spaces. I think that's what people are saying, that while there's some visual stuff that they do that is good and I like, there is a lot of empty space where you're running a long ways between either battles or like checkpoints.
I think it's going to hinge on how much you like that combat, because I feel like if you don't, if it's not that fun, I think a lot of people are going to bounce right off of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll see when the final game comes out. I might give it a shot just to see it because it's free. Like, there's no reason not to. But, yeah, I don't know about that one. That's still a big question mark for 2023.
It's still coming out next year.
Yeah.
So we have time.
All righty.
All right.
Well, that means with that
you didn't play anything else,
I don't think so. So I think we can
did play Vampire Survivors on mobile.
Yes,
that was also announced. That was available to download.
How's it run on mobile? Plays basically the same, or
yeah, basically the same.
Yeah, you move your dude like by like doing the touchscreen, like
just like hold. You just hold.
Yeah,
hold.
I could see that working, but at the same time, I'm like, I'd rather have a controller for that game.
So. Controller, you just use the arrows.
Yeah, I tried that. It wasn't as fun.
All right.
Anyway, let's move on to the second half of the show then.
Yes.
I'm going to put on my NPR voice for the second half of the show here because we have to. Let's go into the television section. And television, we always starts with sports. And this week in the sports, hey, the World Cup continues chugging along. As we mentioned last week, the U.S. has been eliminated, so we are no longer in. But there are still a bunch of teams. Argentina versus Croatia will be the next, as well as Morocco versus either England or France.
Yep.
And the finale will take place on Sunday, the 18th.
So Argentina and Croatia won earlier in the week.
Argentina, a big surprise upset win against the Netherlands. I only know this because at work, I was in the office on Friday, and our accounting person just happens to be of Argentinian descent, and she was rooting for them and absolutely freaked out when they won.
And Croatia upset Brazil.
Yeah.
And Morocco just upset Portugal, who had Ronaldo.
Right. So your big stars.
But they also beat Spain before that.
Yeah, your big stars are kind of like.
So it's like Morocco, team of destiny?
Yeah, maybe. It's weird. It's a weird vibe this year. I feel like all the teams that everybody thought were going to be powerhouses have been eliminated before the end.
And then there's England and France.
And then there's England and France, which are powerhouses, but we'll see how
they're in the same bracket, so they'll get someone will be eliminated in the quarters.
So, hey, we'll see. And then, by Sunday, we will crown a champion.
Next Sunday, which means next podcast episode, we will know who's in the finals.
So there you go. How exciting.
Yep.
Meanwhile, in not football, but football, the 2022 Heisman Trophy finalists have been selected. We have Stetson Bennett, quarterback from Georgia, Max Duggan, quarterback from TCU, CJ Stroud, quarterback from The Ohio State, and Caleb Williams, a quarterback from USC.
Almost like as if you have to be a quarterback to win the Heisman now.
Yeah, when was the last time a running back won? I feel like we talked about this on this podcast.
Derrick Henry won.
I think that was like how many years ago?
Well, he's been in the league for quite some time now. So yes,
several years ago. So there you go. There's your tip. The Media podcast.
Devonta Smith won a couple years ago for receiver.
This is the Media Boat podcast tip. If you want to win the Heisman Trophy, be a quarterback
and have a cool ass name.
Yes, that helps. Certainly doesn't hurt.
Meanwhile, there's other awards that were given out for NCAA football.
Yes, there were, including the AP Player of the Year, which was Caleb Williams, the top quarterback, which was Max Duggan, top running back, which was Bijan Robinson, top coach, Kirby Smart.
Both the running back and coach were from Georgia.
Yeah, there you go. Meanwhile, what is going on with this last bit about the LA Rams?
So, this past week, the LA Rams had to start a new quarterback.
Uh-huh.
So, this means that of their past starting quarterbacks, they have started the number 1 overall pick from 2016 draft, the number 1 overall pick from the 2009 draft, and most recently, the number 1 overall pick from the 2018 draft, that being of Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, and as of Thursday night, Baker Mayfield. Because Baker Mayfield was let go not only from the Browns earlier this year, but where he was traded to the Carolina Panthers, but he was let go from the Carolina Panthers this week, placed on waivers. The Rams were the only ones to pick him up on Tuesday. So Baker Mayfield on Tuesday gets the call, hey, you're going to LA. Practices on Wednesday, plays on Thursday night football, and wins with a 96-yard drive in 92 seconds.
Damn.
Against the Las Vegas Raiders.
That's impressive.
So yeah, Baker Mayfield's not the quarterback of the Rams.
It's weird to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, what a team! What a weird season for the LA Rams.
It is super weird.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like you win the Super Bowl and you come back and you're not really sure what you're doing.
Well, no, it's not that Super Bowl hangover. And they're like, players like take money and leave and go other places and retire.
It's the vibe.
Yeah.
How long do you think McVay's there? That's the big question this season, I think.
A couple more years, maybe.
You're giving 2. I thought this was it. A lot of people are like,
there's a lot of reports around there that say that, like, after this year, that McVay, Aaron Donald, and Stafford are just all going to like retire and like be done.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it does seem like maybe they just need to rethink the Rams. We'll see.
But they won a Super Bowl, so
hey, you got that check.
You got the ring
checked. So there you go.
Yep.
Anything else in sports we needed to talk about? I mean, it was mostly World Cup news this week.
As we get closer to in December, with football, teams will be securing playoff spots. Teams will be officially eliminated. As such, I think the Chicago Bears and the Houston Texans have officially been eliminated from postseason play.
Okay.
And then baseball stuff keeps happening. Yeah. Different deals keep being made.
One note though for of local interest is that there was a quote from the Angels franchise that says they do intend on finishing the sale before opening day, which I'm like, you do not have much time.
No.
So I don't know how they're going to manage to do that, but I would love to see them do it.
Oh, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to do this fast. I'm losing my voice here.
Yeah. No. All right, let's move on then into some television news. And our first story takes us up a very, very tall and very, very dark tower. Yes, that dark tower. After 6 years with Netflix, Intrepid Pictures is moving to Amazon Studios. Additionally, they are taking on the most ambitious project of theirs to date, a screen adaptation of Stephen King's The Dark Tower, which creator Mike Flanagan envisions as a TV series to run for 5 seasons, followed by 2 standalone features. Flanagan reveals that he has written a pilot script and season outlines for The Dark Tower, which he has described for years as his dream project. He has even shared in interviews his vision for the opening shot, a black screen with the words, "The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed," which of course is the first line from the first Dark Tower book, leading to a landscape with a silhouette in a distance. So, Dark Tower fans notoriously have been begging for an adaptation that does the works justice. There was a film that did not.
With Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey,
was pretty widely panned, and so fans are still begging for it. So if Mike Flanagan wants to, try again and make this work, I think a television series is probably the best approach.
I mean, we saw what just happened with Netflix and Sandman.
And with Amazon and Lord of the Rings, these streaming services are putting in a lot of money for big fantasy epics. And it's
And
the Game of Thrones effect.
You don't get as big as a fantasy epic, especially from Stephen King, as the Dark Tower series.
So there are some things I understand about those books that they might have to change for a modern adaptation.
Yeah, it does go into a lot of other Stephen King works that they may or may not have the actual rights to.
Yeah, it's a complicated work because of how fourth wall-y it gets. But hey, we'll see. Ultimately, this is somebody who I believe fans would trust. He does seem like to be a fan himself. So yeah, if anybody's going to do it, this would be the way to do it. So yeah, we'll see if this works out and whether the fans approve.
But yeah, expect that in 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. Speaking of expect it within the next 2 years.
And speaking of Amazon,
we have some streaming updates about Amazon and HBO Max. Under a new deal between Warner Brothers Discovery and Amazon that extends at least through the end of 2024, customers who subscribe to HBO Max through Prime Video channels in the US will automatically be upgraded to the forthcoming consolidated HBO Max Discovery Plus, which all signs point to being named Max, service next spring.
Although that is not confirmed with the name,
confirmed.
That is what general publications are kind of leaning it towards. That both Discovery and HBO Max, the merger, has filed for just the trademark of the name Max.
I think this is smart. I think having a one-word name is always good if you're running a business.
Like Hulu.
And I feel like there's probably a lot of people who already call HBO Max just Max. So hey, it's name recognition right there.
Yep.
HBO Max's return to Prime Video channels comes after the premium streamer under Warner Media dropped off Prime Video channels in September 2021. The sticking point, Warner Media, then owned by AT&T, wanted more control of the direct-to-consumer relationships, including the ability to collect data for targeted advertising that Amazon was willing to cede. About 5 million HBO/HBO Max customers had subscribed through Prime Video channels, and the end of that deal took a bite out of that HBO Max's subscriber base. So to see those people return will be welcome for Warner. And yeah, I think that consolidation is ultimately the best choice here for them to make to get rid of consumer confusion and just streamline their offering, which is what they've already been in progress doing after culling a bunch of HBO Max's content.
Yes. One of the reasons that they kind of stopped the deal initially back in September of 2021 was because they would want more people to just go to HBO Max.
Use it directly.
This was, of course, before the merger happened.
Right.
So now that after the merger with, as we mentioned,
Zaslav
Zaslav in control, he doesn't really care where the viewers or streams are coming from as long as money is being generated.
Exactly.
And if you're going to be generating Amazon money from them, it's like,
he doesn't want to close any doors. Is basically any opportunity that people have to sign up for their content, he wants to have that available.
Yep.
So yeah, makes sense if you're Zaslav.
It makes sense from a business perspective, and hey, it's a business.
Also, it makes sense. It's a better experience for us too if I don't have to sign up for 2 services there.
Yeah.
And then it's available for wherever I want it to be available. So we'll see. That'll happen within the next couple of years, and then next spring is when they're targeting to have some sort of final name and consolidated thing. So there you go.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. You have a thought. You watched the very end of Trevor Noah's run on The Daily Show.
Yes, and possibly the end of The Daily Show.
Yeah, unclear.
Unclear of whether or not there will be a new host, whether or not they will kind of reboot what The Daily Show is, or even where it is.
You'd be surprised. I'm honestly surprised they didn't do that before this episode ran, because you would think that they would want to have some idea of what the Daily Show name is going to be.
Well, I don't know. Did they have already announced who was going to replace
Yes.
when Jon Stewart was going to?
I don't know if they had announced Trevor Noah, but they announced that it would continue with a new host.
Right.
The question at the time was everybody assumed that they were just going to give it to one of his correspondents, and they didn't. Trevor Noah?
No, he was not.
No, he was not. But we knew that there was going to be continuation. This time they haven't even confirmed that. So, how was the last show with Trevor Noah?
More heartfelt than jokey, more comedy.
Yeah.
But then again, that's kind of what you expect when you're kind of saying goodbye to not just the fans, not just the audience who's there in person and also watching, but also the correspondents. So a lot more heartfelt than what's normally tone for the Daily Show.
Yeah.
But then again, this is the culmination of 7 years of Trevor Noah. He's been there for 7 years through the Trump administration, through COVID, through now.
Yeah, a lot of time.
Yeah, so now he gets to go run off with Dua Lipa.
Yeah, I know. Not everybody can say that.
Yes.
Sure, Noah can. You know what? Looking back at his run, I think he did an okay job for what he was offered. I'm just not a really big fan of his, so his show never really reached the heights for me that Jon Stewart's era of the show did. That being said, you know, like you can only do so much with the format of that thing, which is why I'm hoping that when they do, if they choose to revive it, that they change it up a little bit.
Yeah, for me, it was more watching it, the clips readily available on YouTube.
Yeah.
Of his show.
Well, at some point, I think he even realized that most people were watching his show like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think more or less...
especially during the COVID era.
Especially during that era, yeah. I think that, as a concept, I still think that there's value to something like The Daily Show, but you need to rethink it, I think, for how modern news works. The modern news cycle just isn't what it used to be. And I think something like this is limited, I think, by its format.
Modern news cycle, especially when you have instant access to news, Twitter, Reddit, stuff, whatever's on Facebook, if they allow it.
Also they just got to get a squad of writers in there that can compete with John Oliver's team.
That too.
I don't know if anybody can right now. That's the reason why they've won an Emmy every year.
Yes, but they also get one show a week instead of 4.
That's true. It's a lot less planning involved. So yeah, I guess we'll see whatever next thing Trevor Noah does, and we'll see whatever next thing Comedy Central does with The Daily Show.
Yep, and whoever becomes the new host sitting behind the desk.
Who knows? If there's a desk at all. We'll see.
Yes, if there's a host at all.
All right, did we watch anything else this week?
No. Yes. Sexless Island returns.
Oh boy. One of your favorites.
Yes. Returns for season 3. They have found even more people to trick.
Of course.
Yes. Of course, that's not called Sexless Island. No, it's called Too Hot to Handle. It's on Netflix. It's season 3. But yes, Too Hot to Handle because they cannot touch themselves. They cannot touch other people.
No sense.
And yet they still break the rules and put money in the
out of the pot. No show if that didn't happen.
Oh, they're young, hot, and stupid.
That should have been the name of the show.
Yes.
All right, let's move on then. I didn't watch anything new this week. A lot of shows are going on their holiday break, so we've had a lot of holiday episodes this week. But yeah, besides that, let's move on to cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
Unfortunately, HBO has canceled Los Spookies after 2 seasons. I know that was a fan favorite for the internet people. Lopez versus Lopez is getting a 9 more episode addition to its first season here, doing the full 22 episodes for NBC.
But it's still on Friday.
Still on the death slot for some reason. Moonhaven canceled after 1 season on AMC+. F-Boy Island canceled after 2 seasons on HBO Max.
They couldn't find more people to trick.
No more F-Boys. The DeMello Show on Hulu renewed for a 3rd season. Legendary canceled after 3 seasons on HBO Max. Sweet Life: Los Angeles canceled after 2 seasons on HBO Max. Hey, that culling, it's still happening. Monarch canceled after 1 season on Fox.
Oh no, who could have seen that coming?
Everybody. Oh my God. The Bastard Son and the Devil Himself canceled after 1 season on Netflix. Those are your cancellations and renewals. Then we have a handful of deaths here. Kirstie Alley, believe it or not, age 71, actress, of course, famous for Cheers, Veronica's Closet, Look Who's Talking. Won Emmys back in 1991 and 1994, a sitcom staple for a while, and in later years,
Jenny Craig.
Yeah, and also spokesperson for Jenny Craig. But yeah, later in life, maybe said some questionable things. And so definitely a controversial and yet prolific feature of the celebrity world over the course of her life. Next up, George Newell, age 88, a co-creator of Schoolhouse Rock.
Yep. I think he was the lyricist.
Okay. Wrote a lot of the lyrics for those songs. So we can thank him for Conjunction Junction.
Yes.
And being a Bill, sitting on Capitol Hill. And then lastly, or not lastly, in the deaths, Helen Slayton Hughes, age 92, actress. Was on shows like Parks and Recreation, Crazy on the Outside, and Moxie.
If that name doesn't sound familiar, that's because she played the elder actress of Ethel.
Right.
Ethel Beavers in
Yes.
Parks and Rec.
Yes, that's how I would know her. Yeah, definitely a fun character actress. But yeah, 92. That's pretty good, getting up there. And then lastly here, Grant Wall, age 48, a sports journalist. Wrote for Sports Illustrated, author of The Beckham Experiment.
Recently died,
yes.
while watching the World Cup. He was covering the World Cup.
Yeah.
There are people on the internet who do suspect foul play.
I mean, 48 is very, very young.
Yes.
So considering that, plus the many, many questions brought up about the safety of Americans in Qatar.
During the first World Cup game that he was to cover, he wore an LGBTQ plus shirt, but was immediately turned away. He also recently came out with an article about the World Cup and how it's treating its hospitality, which some could point to. We're not here to say one way or the other.
We can't say, but
yeah. Depends on where you look on the internet.
The pieces do put together an interesting picture there.
Yes, especially journalists of American journalists in that part of the world.
So yeah, this was a sad one for a lot of reasons. A lot of people I saw, giving tribute to his work and how influential of a journalist he's been, and certain things he's covered, and the way he's covered sports over the years. And yeah, a lot of people talking about like the circumstances and being like, well, we probably should take a look at what exactly happened here, investigate into this a little further.
He was one of the first people to start covering LeBron James when he was in high school.
Yeah.
He became one of the most, later in his life, dedicated to the sport of soccer and originated in the U.S. as well. But yeah, just a prolific sports journalist.
Yeah. Interesting nonetheless. So we'll see. But yeah, what happens with that if they do investigate that?
There will most likely, yes, be an investigation.
Oh, just a sad one. Just brutal. All right, let's move on into movies, our final section for today. And we always start that with the weekend box office numbers. Your number one, still sitting pretty up top, is Black Panther Wakanda Forever with another $17.5 million. That's at 393. It will cross 400.
It will definitely cross 400 million.
Good job, Black Panther. Number two, Violent Night had a $13.4 million debut, combining those horror movie aficionados with those Christmas aficionados.
Yes, so now you have something other than A Nightmare Before Christmas to watch.
There you go. Number three, Strange World with another week of disappointing numbers. $5 million. That's only at 25 million. If we can officially call that movie a bomb.
Until it gets revived on Disney Plus.
Even then. Number four, The Menu with another $3.4 million. That's at 24 million. I don't think Disney thought that those two would be so close.
Yes.
And number five, rounding out your top five this week, Devotion with a $2.7 million total this week, adding to 13 million domestic. So yeah, I think the big story here is, Strange World just continues. No one's seeing it. No one's going to see that.
Nobody.
All right, upcoming this week is finally the week. Avatar: The Way of the Water is unleashed into theaters. You already have critics kind of giving their takes. You have some early kind of feedback coming from those screenings. Do you think it is the big hit that James Cameron expects it to be?
Interesting enough, I was reading an article this morning about, with the release of Avatar: The Way of Water coming out, that they've already shot up to 3 movies.
Yeah.
So they have Avatar: Way of Water, they have the sequel as well, already shot. As well as the the 4th film already penned out and planned.
Right.
Depending on how box office numbers play out with The Way of Water. So we can either have 3 movies or 4 movies or 5 movies. And James Cameron's like ready for each scenario.
I think this is a big gamble, but I'm probably wrong. Honestly, I'm ready to be wrong. I think this will probably be huge because of course it will. It's inevitable. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. If James Cameron says the Avatar is going to be huge, it's going to be huge.
I mean, you do have him coming out and criticizing the way Thanos looks in 2019. Is like Like, if that you think that was good in 2019, like, just wait till you see what we've done, because like we blow his shit out of the water.
I mean, that's literally, and that's the thing. It's like we'll see it. I mean, we'll see what happens. Is the movie as great as he thinks it is? Is it as money making as he thinks it is? We'll see.
I'm may or may not be able to see it by the time we podcast next week, but I will definitely be talking about it the following week.
Okay, we'll talk about it then. So get ready for Avatar. All right, that's the upcoming releases. But hey, we have to move on because it's, like we mentioned, award season in full swing, also top 10 season, and none of those collaborate in the same way as with the National Board of Review. Top Gun Maverick has been named Best Picture by the organization. Colin Farrell and Michelle Yeoh took home the big acting awards for The Banshees of Inisherin and Everything Everywhere All at Once, respectively. The supporting awards went to Farrell's co-star Brendan Gleeson, while Janelle Monáe picked up her first major prize for Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel. Of course, we also praised her performance in that movie last week. Other winners include Steven Spielberg for directing The Fabelmans, Martin McDonagh for original screenplay The Banshees of Inisherin, and A24's Marcel the Shell with Shoes On for animated feature, with I think this is a stretch, but sure. Yay. Other top films include After Sun, The Woman King, Till, and, hey, what do you know, Avatar. So there you go. National Board of Review kind of kicking off our end of the year festivities here.
So does this mean I should find a way to watch Banshees of Inisherin if we got both best actors here?
Maybe.
As well as the screenplay?
Maybe that's one of the ones we should probably put on our little short list of things to watch before Oscars.
Or things to watch before our end of the year list.
With two, well, clock's ticking on that one.
Oh, I know.
So we'll see. Anyway, yeah, so maybe this is a little preview of some of what Oscars might look like.
Yeah. I mean, Martin McDonagh is no stranger to the Oscars, doing 3 billboards outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
That's true. That's true. Moving on to our second story here. Brad Pitt, always in the news with his production studio Plan B. They're selling their majority stake in it, or he is selling his majority stake in his production company to Media One, a Paris-based production company. Plan B, run by President Didi Gardner and co-president Jeremy Kleiner, recently produced She Said, and its credits include The Departed, Moonlight, and 12 Years a Slave.
No, this is Plan B.
Right, that's what I'm
saying.
Plan
B's credits.
And its credits. Yeah. Media One owns a fleet of European production operations such as Lagardère Studios, Makever, and the French TV division of EuropaCorp. In a statement, Media One touts the opportunity for the French company to expand beyond its core European markets into the US by leveraging Plan B's connections to, quote, cultivate a greater number of immensely talented creators and premium projects for a global viewership. I imagine this is Brad Pitt being like, I don't want this to be my day job anymore, like running a company.
Yeah, this is Brad Pitt this is Brad Pitt selling his majority stake, not the company.
But usually when you say selling a majority stake, that means it's a buyout. It's just that it's a nice way of putting it to not scare anybody. It's okay.
Like Plan B will still be there. We'll still operate. We'll still be
called Plan B
and producing projects within the U.S. It's just that they now have a parent company in Media One, which is a French-based company.
Yeah, so interesting development here for Brad. But yeah, we'll see what the French company does moving forward with the Plan B brand.
It would be interesting to see if they take some of their IPs and either make them for French audiences or for European audience as well, or vice versa. Because they do, because we have seen it time and time again of IPs from foreign countries that get remade in the US.
Yeah, we'll see. Alrighty, have we watched any new movies this week?
Nope, just a lot of holiday movies.
Yeah, it's that time of year, so a lot of old holiday movies that we can't really talk about here. Anyway, but what we do have before we wrap up today is a fan question. What do you know? Always love a good fan question. Yes. This comes from our number one fan again this week. If you want to ask us a question, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. This week's question. We all know a hero is only as good as his villains. We can all probably agree that Batman is as good as he is because of his rogues gallery. One of my favorite franchise villains was Voss from the Far Cry series. He made your silent protagonist pale in comparison to his presence. My question to you is, who is your favorite villain? From any source of media, video games, movies, or TV shows, thanks. Keep up the good work.
I did notice that you left out music, villain in music.
Well, according to Antihero, Taylor Swift is her own villain.
Yes, it's her. Hi, it's her.
It's her. So villains, classic villains. I mean, first one comes to my mind is, of course, when I think of classic villain in my head, it is Die Hard. It is Hans Gruber. It's like the most villain that I can think of in my head.
Oh, see, I was gonna go with Hannibal Lecter, who's only on screen for 19
good.
minutes.
That's good.
And still ended up winning an Oscar for it.
If we're talking Disney movies, there's a lot of classic good villains in those.
Mm-hmm.
Your Scars, your dude from Princess and the Frog.
Oh, you used to like David Keith in there.
I mean, Keith David. Not David Keith.
Yes.
It's a different guy.
I'm sorry. Yes. You have Keith David, the villain in Princess and the Frog. Keith David, the villain in Amphibia.
Yeah, Keith
David, the villain in Saints Row 3rd.
Anyway, the villain. He's a good guy in that.
I don't know about that.
What other villains?
In video games, you have some great villains like Handsome Jack.
I think great is being a little generous to Handsome Jack.
I don't know. I loved when I was able to finally kick his ass.
Yeah, I know.
That's that also makes a great villain when you finally able to kick their ass.
What else do we got? Let's see.
I mean, if you want to count Bowser in there because he's been around for a long time,
yeah,
he's a classic villain.
What else? Because I think one of the things is that you have to be a very specific kind of thing to have a real villainy villain like that. A lot of storytelling, modern storytelling, is kind of eschewed that for more of a personal struggle. And yeah, I don't know. I feel
either a personal struggle or more of an anti-hero Walter White, where does villain actions for a betterment.
You're right. The rise of the anti-hero in a lot of
Taylor Swift songs.
Yes. God damn it. And a lot of prestige TV has kind of made this less common of a trope in recent years. But yeah, I think that when you have a really good villain, though, they do steal the show in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
It's just because you're being put on the spot there.
Yeah, I think so. The thing with these questions a lot of the time is man, it's hard to think. We need to read these ahead of time. I should have read this ahead of time. So
it was Darth Vader, classic Vader, that goes across both TV and movies and video games. He might be one of the few ones that does cross all of them.
He does cross over all of them. And the fun thing about that one is that because of all that, you have a lot of time to interrogate that character. So we know about his childhood. We know about the reasons why he ends up doing the things he does. And you get a full 360 view of him because of that. So I think that helps your villain feel fleshed out when you are able to tell a story over a long period of time. Yeah, villains.
Yep,
they're good sometimes.
They're good to have, and when done right, it can make your story even
and your hero feels stronger too. Our fan brings up a good point there. It's that's one of the reasons why Batman is so beloved, because the Joker is such a good foil for him. That they're so opposed and so opposite ends of the spectrum that they make each other stronger. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
And also, if we're talking about silent protagonist versus villain, GLaDOS from Portal.
Yeah, I mean that one's an interesting one because as much of a villain that character is, they're also very endearing and funny.
Yes.
And so
and they give you cake.
Or can they? Or is there?
There's a recipe.
It's that's a 15-year-old joke this year. All right.
Oh my God.
Jeez, yeah, think about that for a second. All right. Well, that'll do it. Thank you for the question. And like I said, if you want us to answer your question, just email us at mediabopodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, I feel like we can wrap this show up for the day. Thank you for joining us for this little low-key second half. Our big key first half. But nonetheless...
Well, the big keys were all in the Video Game Awards.
Yeah, we had to get that
was literally the biggest thing that happened this week.
It was. A little bit of a slow week, and it'll probably continue being slow through the holiday season. But if you want to listen to us get wild about our favorite things of the year, you can do so on our podcast stream, as we are this all month of December. We are giving you our year-end wrap-up shows. Like we said earlier in the show, our episode dedicated to our favorites in the year of music is already up on our feed. Coming this week, we'll have our show about video games. Coming the week after that, we will have our show about television. And then we'll wrap up with film the week after that and wrap up the year on the 31st with our final wrap-up show of the year, which is our year in review, as well as personal things and looking forward to the year to come, 2023.
Yep.
All of that will be coming on our podcast feed. So you can find that at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts, just search Media Boat Podcasts. You can also find our video versions of our live streams that we do on Saturday mornings, just like this one, on YouTube. If you search youtube.com, Media Boat Podcast, you'll find our page. Like, channel, like, comment, subscribe, click the bell for notifications when we go live. You can also find us on social media networks like Twitter, where we're at Media Boat Cast. Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast to find our page there. And like I said, you can email that email address, mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com, for any questions, feedback, things you want to tell us, anything at all. You can do it there. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be back for another regular episode of the show next week, as well as that wrap-up episode for video games on Wednesday of next week.
Yep. Next week, we'll be back with more news, more thoughts, more us, possibly more end of the wrap-up shows, especially those that are streaming.
Yeah, so look forward to that. We'll see you.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Okay, bye. All right. That was a short one.
Yeah, no, I thought it would be. That's good, because,